Welcome to the Sister Cousins Podcast.
Well, look at us. Week 3, episode 3. Who would have thought that we would have made it this far?
I know. I was blown away by the first episode, the engagement, the subscribers. I know there are podcasters that have millions of subscribers, but this was just a fun project for us. And we are just so grateful that you're hanging in there with us. And if this is your first time, I encourage you go back and listen to episode 1 and 2. But thank you for hanging out with us and subscribing and liking and being a part of the Sister Cousin family. We appreciate it.
Yes, we appreciate it so much. I don't know if you got any personal feedback, but I did, by some people saying that they couldn't wait for the next episode. So we hope that we can continue to bring you a laugh and just carry you along with us in day in the life of Sister Cousins.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did. I got feedback too. Some friends of mine I was just visiting with this week, and she said, "You guys are hilarious together." She said, "When y'all start laughing," she said, "I forget what you're even talking about, and I just start laughing." And I was like, "Well, then it's doing its job, what we want to do." So
Well,
thank you again.
even my pastor listened. I was a little concerned about it. I was like, oh gosh. But he actually said, I see why you two would want to do this. He said,
Aw.
y'all are actually great together. He was like, it really is a cool project coming together. So thank you so much from the
Yeah.
bottom of our hearts for all the support that you've given us and that you're actually enjoying these podcasts. So week number 3, episode 3, the word is strength.
Mm.
And like I have never really looked up the name Arnett to see what its meaning is. I did.
And Arnett is our maiden name.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
I have looked up like the origin of it, but I never really looked up like the meaning of it. But I am convinced that strong or strength or any of those words that go along with that have got to be in our definition of our name, because
for sure.
I can't even think of any Arnett that I've known or have heard about from my aunts and uncles and my dad and everything that did not have that kind of characteristic that just went along with them. So so we felt that this week's word should be strength. Now, when you think about an Arnett and you think about strength, it takes every facet of the word. You've got to be mentally strong, physically strong, emotionally strong. That was just ingrained in us from small children. We were doing things out there that like the adults were doing. Like if we went out there and we were part of the chore or part of doing the job, we were treated like we were supposed to be as strong as the adults, or we were expected to be as strong as the adults in all of those areas, the mental, the physical, and all that. And so the story I bring to you this week is
I'm scared.
I was talking to my sister the other day, and she said she wants to share her stories too. Now, her stories a lot of times were she felt like an only child, like I did, because I was already gone to college. So a lot of her growing up consisted of her being at home alone, like an only child, whereas for 11 years I was an only child. But so she's sharing her stories, or what comes to mind to her when she hears us share our stories on the podcast. So she brought this story to my mind, and I felt like, well, it is a prime example all the way around of strength. If some of you remember Hurricane Fran, when it came through, it was very devastating for North Carolina. And even the area I live, we went a week without power. And that was a whole new look on life, having to adjust to generator. And then we didn't even have a generator strong enough to operate the whole house. So you had to be strategic in what you wanted to plug in. Well, we were going to plug in this for right now and we'll get cooled down. And then we got to take that off because then you got to plug this in so we can eat. Because you just couldn't go out to eat every night because,
Yeah.
well, even the restaurants didn't have power.
Yeah.
I mean, there were places around that they had minimal power also where they could provide, maybe a hot dog or something like that. So we really did try to cook on a little 2-burner hot plate thing.
It was like camping indoors. Like
Right.
those of you who've been through
Right.
major storms,
Right.
you just go back to the very basics.
And
Yeah.
so the home that I grew up in, we lived like really out in the woods. I felt like I was camping all the time. And I was just living. But we lived 3/10 of a mile off of the road.
Yeah.
Like our dirt path that led to our house, it was 3/10 of a mile long. And so when Hurricane Fran blew through, our driveway was just, and both sides of the dirt path are covered by trees. Well, all these trees snapped and blew over, and so we couldn't leave, even if we'd have wanted to, without making a path to get through. So again, it's all hands on deck. So here I am. I'm 19 at the time, so that would make my sister 7, 8. She was 8, so she had to get out there too. So I knew I was expected to get out there, and then my dad's best friend, who was also our neighbor, of course, he came down to help. So there's 2 grown men with chainsaws and all kind of equipment.
What is it about chainsaws with our family?
Here we go again with chainsaws.
Gosh.
And again, here's Ashley, probably around Erin's age when she had her chainsaw incident.
It's a rite of passage as an Arnett.
So we get out here, we've got our chainsaws, we've got our saws, we've got our axes, we've got, literally everything. And so my dad is going to tell my sister, who's 8, to hold the chainsaw and hold it real still. I mean, she's grounded. I mean, she's got the stance. She's holding it. She's two-handing it. She's ready. I think her face was even like this, kind of thing, like she was ready. And he says, now I'm going to tell, and he's talking to her, and he says, now Stacy's going to pull the string, so you got to hold it real still because the string is real hard to pull. So when she pulls it, it's going to crank up, and you should hold it still, and then Stacy's going to take it from you, and then she can use the chainsaw. So Ashley didn't act like Ashley's my sister. Ashley didn't act like she really wanted to do this, but she wasn't there going to say, no, I'm not going to hold it. So she did. She got in her stance. She had her face fixed just right. She's holding it. I pull that rope, Betty, and it cranks right up. I mean, it fires up, but it scares her. And she's like, oh, no. And so she drops the chainsaw, and it's still running, and it nicks my leg. Now, mind you, I was quick. I mean, my reflexes, I think, were, par.
Yeah.
And I got out of the way, but it did nick my leg just a little bit, not much. And then that scared her because so here comes the mentally strong part right here, because my dad went off on her. I mean, he starts hollering, what in the world were you doing? I told you to hold the chainsaw and you let it go. You could have sawed her leg off. Okay, and so I was physically strong enough to move out of the way and not let it saw my leg off. And, thank God it just nicked me a little bit. And then, so she was done. Chainsaw done. Like, not holding it again. I about sawed my sister's leg off. I'm not doing this. So she went to find another job to do, which I think by this point, my dad's best friend, the neighbor guy, had already had a little pile of wood that he had started. So she just went going and moving that out of the way because we needed to just throw that out of the way. So she went for a totally different job. So we finally got the chainsaw going and everything. We literally worked on this brushwood all day long.
Mm.
And then here's the physically strong part too. Also, I mean, it's hot. It's September. It's still hot in North Carolina.
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, we sweated and we sweated and we sweated and we sweated, and of course, I'm a girl. I'm out here with a chainsaw, with an axe, moving heavy limb, because some of these, you consider it a limb, but it was a dang near tree that we were having to slide out of the way so we could get our cars in and out and stuff like this. So now I'm irritated. I've had enough. So now attitude starts coming in and stuff like that. I think attitude is another characteristic for Arnett, but that's for another podcast.
Oh, that's a couple of episodes with the Arnett attitude. Yeah.
Right. So, but we moved and we slung and we moved out of the way and we got it and everything, but we literally had enough brush moved out of the way to where our cars could get in and out of the driveway like we needed to by the end of the day. But when I tell you I hurt so bad after that day was done. We still didn't have any power, so we drove into Raleigh to my aunt's house to borrow her shower. And I remember almost crying because I hurt so bad, standing in the shower with the warm water just hitting me. And then it's almost like it brought even more of the pain out, like the soreness and stuff, you know. And I think I popped ibuprofen and Advil, and I mean anything I could think of to take, like for the whole rest of the night. I cried myself to sleep that night, I think, because I just hurt so bad, and I thought nobody should have to hurt this bad.
But you better not complain about
it. No. I think I did say one time that, you know, I was hurting real bad, and I didn't really get any kind of reaction. It was
no sympathy.
It was kind of a look like, and now what, you know, or what do you want me to do about it, kind of thing. And so I didn't continue saying that anymore. I guess I one time was enough. They knew I hurt, and so that was that. But but I mean, some of those, like that job right there, I can just remember, I mean, how much strength it brings to me. Because I mean, I had to lift things by myself, like those logs and those trees, and move them out of the way.
And you had to keep up too.
Any
job that we had to take on, we had to keep up with our dads or our uncles or our dad's friends, or you had to keep up. Otherwise, you know,
and you didn't dare take a break until break was declared by them.
Yeah. And I remember. So I was struggling with like a strength story when Stacy said we'll do strength. You know, I was like, oh, that's a good one. But I was struggling because there was such a high level of expectation at such a young age. I mean, last episode I told you about my chainsaw incident, and poor Ashley now having her chainsaw incident. But there was just such a high level of expectation of strength. And as you were talking, literally the story came to me because I remember this was the same house that we lived in where I had the chainsaw incident and the cutting the corn incident. But we had horses. And so if you have horses, you know that sometimes the fence gets damaged, a horse might get out. And so there was an area of our fence that had been torn down. We don't know what got in or what got, you know, out or how it got damaged, but it was towards the back of the property. And so, but it was an area that the horses like to congregate. So we knew we had to fix it or the horses would get out, and then the road wasn't far from that. And so.
Oh, and I don't mean to interrupt, but we all had animals growing up.
All kinds of animals.
But I've heard these families talk about, oh, that's Erin's dog right there, and that's Andy's dog, that's her husband. And I'm like, oh, each one of y'all have your own. Because in my family, how I grew up, we had dogs, and that was everybody's. So if anything ever happened, like with the fence or anything, everybody was expected to go out there and take care of this problem, or whatever seemed to be the problem, whatever the problem was, or everybody took turns, you know, feeding, watering or grooming, whatever you had to
Yeah.
do, everybody had to take turns. So when you had horses, oh, it was cool. You got horses. Whose horse is
Mhm.
this? Oh, this is everybody's horse. You know,
Yeah.
it didn't matter. We didn't have a, oh, this is my dad's horse and this is my mom's horse. No, this was all of ours.
Yep. And so everybody had to take care of everything. And except Mama. She never had to do
You know, I
physical
was
labor.
just thinking of that same thing because you know that Hurricane Fran story. You know, my mama went out there chopping the wood and all that kind of
Same
stuff.
with my mama never fed a horse. She never got eggs. She never had to cut corn.
Right,
I'm just now realizing that.
right.
Now that ain't fair. But anyway, back to the fence story. So part of the fence came down and we knew we had to get it fixed. So my dad went and bought the lumber, went and bought the electric fence line because we had electric fence on part of it, and all the materials. Well, who was his crew? Me and my sister. And she had her book in hand, so I knew about the time we got there, she was going to find somewhere to sit, and she was going to be reading her book, and it was going to be me and Daddy. And I think she did help a little more that time, though. But we had to carry these big, I don't know if it was a 2x4 or what size it was, but I just remember as small as I was, it was a big piece of wood. And it was a lot of them because there was a big area of the fence. And I remember I was expected to carry that wood from the back of the truck to where the fence was broken, not drop it, not hit the truck, because you know how they were about their trucks now.
Oh yeah,
Very particular. Better not hit the truck with it, and better get it over there where it needed to go and lay it down where it needed to be nailed in, because he was doing the nailing. Thank God I didn't have to use a nail gun or anything like that yet. But I had to carry the wood. And I remember that day was the first day I ever touched a live electric fence. I thought I would wet myself.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it hurt so bad. And my daddy laughed. Like he thought that was the funniest thing.
They always seem to laugh at things like that, and the more you got hurt, the funnier it was to them, and when it wasn't funny to the person that it was happening to.
Yeah.
But
But
they
you
were
let
just
us laugh at them.
belly aching laughing over it. Yeah.
But that did not fly. If we laughed at them for something, because my dad was terrified of snakes. And so we would try to prank him sometimes, not that day with the fence because he was serious. But we would say, Daddy, there's a snake. Well, Lord, he'd go to dancing and hopping around. And if we laughed, oh, we were in trouble. But that day, I did hit the bumper of his truck with that piece of wood. It was not pretty. Now, he got on me, and I had to hold it. But I was expected to be able to be strong enough physically to transport this wood from one location to another. His big toolbox, and you know they had them big metal toolboxes
Oh yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
Them big toolboxes, I had to carry that. You know, if he needed something, and I was supposed to know what every tool was, and they had a billion of them. But I just remember, and then being strong, touching that live electric fence, that thing hurt like a son of a gun. Woo, it hurt. But you just had to carry on. You just had to be strong.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why I struggle with this is because the time doing things like that, those projects that we got roped into every day, it felt like it was normally just the weekends, but it felt like every day. But getting roped into those projects, that manual labor, that display of physical strength, and then of course the mental strength when they got frustrated with us because we weren't as strong as them. But being strong and having that expectation put on us, like later in life, this is what Stacy and I were talking about this morning. Later in life is when you feel that inner strength that it built in you, even though maybe it wasn't built the healthiest way.
Right.
But that inner strength that was built in us, it starts to come out through life experiences. And I think for me, probably one of the first times I felt that was when my dad left and my mom and dad split up. And for me, that was really hard because I loved my dad, and he was a good daddy, and he was fun, and he made it fun around our house. We mentioned before, my mom was pretty serious all the time. And so when daddy left, a lot of the fun in our house was gone too for a while. And it was really hard. But as you grow and you go through those things, you recognize that strength that starts to rise up. And I think it just has carried me, and I'm sure you too. We've both been through
Yeah,
hard
I
things.
think the first time that I can remember really having to rely on that inner strength that was innate in me or built in me was when my dad got sick.
Mm,
He was in and out of the hospitals for a long time, not knowing what was going on, and it was just an ongoing battle. I was 15 um, when that happened, and my dad, same as her dad. I mean, funny, could be the
mhm.
life of the party, jokes. He'd love to tell stories. I really, truly think that's where I got that from. Um, because he loved to tell a story and he could
Mhm.
make it so funny. I think he would add a little extra to it. But
Always.
I don't think that ever hurts too terribly
Yeah.
much if you do that. And so, but when he got sick, and there would be some really heavy days and some really dark
Mhm.
days and stuff like that, and that humor was gone. He didn't have it in him to be funny. Like nothing was funny anymore. So a lot of that left our house then
Yeah.
too. When those years started, and it was a whole new kind of lifestyle that you had to take
Mhm.
on. But you had to be strong because, well, there was no telling when we were going to have to take him back to the hospital,
Yeah.
um and all those kinds of things. And so you just never knew what was going to happen. And his immune system then was just kaput. And so any little given thing that would happen to him, sometimes that would require a hospital stay
Mhm.
until that could, get straightened out. So that was my first time
Yeah.
where, I mean, you just really, it was like, okay, so here we go again. Let's do this. And that um, is where, unfortunately, my sister, it happened to her a whole lot younger because, like I
Yeah.
said, she was younger than me when that happened. Um, and so, but she has a whole nother side, like to her story, than like,
Mhm.
how I have. But that we really just had to be there a lot of times. We had to be there for our mom. We had to start doing things around. Well, we did house chores and stuff like that, but what we had to do more
Yeah.
around that. Sometimes dinner was on us because she would be with him, or those kinds of things. So that, I think that was my first time when I
Mhm.
really had to, because I never, thank God, I didn't have to experience, my parents splitting or anything. And I know that's a whole another thing, but
Yeah.
that's kind of sort of like what I imagine it,
But
but
there was an absence
because there is
still.
an absence,
Yeah.
because my mom didn't stay at the hospital overnight sometimes, but she would get home late, and so then it
Yeah.
would just be the three of us at home,
Yeah.
in the night, kind of thing. And so a lot of those, and that you just had to do that because you couldn't just stop.
Yeah.
You had to keep living, you had to keep going, and you had to push through and stuff like that. But that, I think, was a time when we were really tested and was really put to use, was during that time.
I think about we've mentioned both of us, we're women of faith, but when you were talking, I think about that verse. It's one of my favorite verses in the Bible, and it's with the whole passage that I really love, but it's in 2 Corinthians 12, and I think that's the reference. Don't quote me on that. I believe it is, though. But when it says, in my weakness, I'm strong. Like, in your weakness, I'm strong. And I feel like that was when things felt weak in our life, when the circumstances, like when your dad got sick, there was a weakness in him. but your inner strength rose up. When my dad and mom split up, it was my mom, my sister, and I, and she was broken. My mom was broken. She was heartbroken, and she was weak, and so there had to be a strength that came about to carry and to walk through things. And it literally just kept on and on and on.
Yeah.
And so you have that, and then you have kids, and you get married, and so there's different opportunities through life where you feel weak, but there is this inner strength from the Lord, but also from the things that that you've been through that has fostered that strength. And also now walking with the Lord, you're like, okay, I know how to strengthen myself in the Lord. Like, I know there are some things I can't do, but I know that God will give me the strength to do it, or to get through it, or to, overcome whatever this thing is. And I think it was just the recognizing of, we're pretty tough. like we were raised tough,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and we're not perfect, and our parents weren't perfect, but there was a toughness that was instilled in us. And our families were families of faith. And were they perfect? Did they always walk that journey right? No, but nobody does. But at the foundation of who they were very faith filled. Right. And knew the Lord, loved the Lord. Our grandmother was a woman of faith.
Right.
Our grandfather, that's another episode. We'll come back to that. But faith was always intertwined in our life and in our families. And so, yeah, I think it just built a lasting kind of strength. And the funny things that we had to do to experience that and to draw that out of us, I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for, touching the electric fence and knowing what that felt like, because I touched it once. I never touched it again. And I'm thankful that if I had to build a fence, I could do it. And
same.
If you had to cut down a tree, you could do it.
Same.
And if you had to navigate sickness, you could do it.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
And you have. And I have. And we've also had to turn around and take care of our parents in times of sickness. And if you have done that, if you've been a caregiver for someone that you love, and you understand that that's a different kind of strength.
Yes, it is. And it is not an easy job at all.
That you have to tap into. And there are moments of such great weakness in that pouring out of strength.
Yep.
That, I don't know about you, but I remember days when I was caring for my mom. She had a stroke and had Parkinson's disease that was advancing very quickly, and I was her primary caregiver. She moved in with us. But I remember some days feeling like I had just been wrung out. Like there was absolutely not even just a tiny bit of strength left. And I would just be sitting on the floor of my closet in my bedroom, just a few rooms away from her, and just utterly exhausted by life. And I just remember I would say, God, I can't do this. Like I have nothing else to give. And in that moment, I would hear my mom. She had this, they call it a rollator. It's like a little walker that rolls. And that's how she got around. And we have hardwood floors in the main part of our house. and I could hear that rollator, boom, 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 coming across the hardwood floor, and I would feel this inner strength just come up, and she would need something. She would need, help going to the bathroom, or help, getting something out of the cabinet, or help, doing something in her room. And it was like almost instantaneous, like that strength. You would just feel it start to, it was like this slow trickle back in, and you would feel just like, okay, you just find it.
There were a lot of times the strength would feel like it had been just sucked, absolutely every bit of it out of me. And that reminds me of one of my favorite verses. And I had to lean on that for a long time, going through stuff with my dad, and my mom died unexpectedly. So I wasn't really, I I guess I wasn't really caretaker. I mean, she did live with us, but her story was a little different than Aaron's mom,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I didn't have to like physically care for her like Aaron had to care for her mom. But there were times where it's like I just feel like I am out here on an island all alone, and I mean, like I'm wanting to scream, but is anybody going to hear me?
Yeah.
Can anybody come? And I just want to say help or something,
Yeah.
but is anybody going to hear me? And I relied on Joshua 1:9, where it says that God's with you no matter where you go.
Yep.
And I had to lean on that so many times and be like, I know he's here with me. I'm not feeling him right now at this moment in time. But it's when you actually say that out loud, and then you say, God, I know you're with me, and you're not going to leave me, and you're with me no matter where I am. I can feel like I'm out here all alone, or maybe I really am out here all alone. Nobody's around me right now, but I know you're here with me.
Yeah.
He's just sitting quiet, with you, and he just gives you that nudge, just like when you need it. He gives you that nudge, and all of a sudden you just feel this little, sometimes it's a warmth feeling, or sometimes you do have that little pick me up of a little boost of energy where you can feel like I can go 5 more minutes, I can, or I can go help do what she needs to get done, or or something like that.
And it's also, I didn't mean to interrupt, sorry, but it's also like this knowing that you have, and I use that word a lot. My husband always tells me, he's like, you just have this knowing? I was like, yeah. But it's like this knowing that you have in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, that I'm going to take a step and God's going to get me through it.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do. I would step up out of that closet and step out to where, I'd meet my mom kind of in the hallway, and, it was just, we just did it. You just did it, and you found it. You found the strength, and really God provides the strength, but you feel depleted.
Yeah.
And you look back, and when you're out of that season, you look back and you're like, how did I do that? Like,
where did that even come from? How did I?
Yeah. How did I work a full-time job, was raising kids? My son was deployed. His wife and 3-month-old daughter were living with us, and we don't have a huge house. And I travel internationally with my job, and she lived with us almost 2 years before passing away. And I look back on that season and I'm like, how did I do that? But it was God. It was, and the strength that I felt like through my life had been just drilled into me. You got to be strong. You got to be physically strong. You got to be mentally strong. You got to be, emotionally strong, and you're tough, and you can handle it. And I thought in sometimes during our childhood, I thought, this is just cruel. Now y'all are just mean. Just mean.
And cousins, don't say y'all didn't think that too, because you did. You did at least once in your life.
You sat in that bedroom talking about how mean your daddy was, and sharing that can you believe it story, of what you had been through. But sometimes it felt cruel and mean. But the older I get, and the more life you navigate, I'm like, God bless them for teaching us how to be tough.
Correct. Yes.
And how to be committed. And a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, she's so wise, and we've been great friends for many years. And I was playing keys one Sunday on at church, and she was doing announcements, and she said something that she had told her daughter, and she said, the only way, I think they were running 5K or something. She said, only way to finish this thing is through it. The only way to do it, is to get through it. And I thought that's such great wisdom, because the only way to get through a hard time is through it. You can't go around it.
Right. And you can't just sit there and look like you're stuck.
Yeah. You can't avoid it, and you can't, the only way to get down your driveway to leave during Hurricane Fran was you had to be able to get through the brush.
Right.
And you had to remove it, and you had to take some things out. And the only way to get through my mom's sickness and different seasons of life is just to hunker down and get through it. And by God's grace, we did. And and I think it's still building strength.
Oh, yeah.
The things that I walked through with my mom, they were not easy. Her mind was affected, and Parkinson's is a cruel disease, and it was excruciatingly painful to watch her decline. But on the other side of it, you're like, as hard as it was, it also built strength and resiliency. And I know you know how that feels. It's the same.
Yep.
You're like, the things that you go through test your strength, but it also builds your strength. And we're pretty daggone strong in this season.
You find yourselves doing things that you never could have ever imagined that you would have to be going through or doing. And like, back to my mom lived with us for the last 2 years. I think it was about 2 years she lived with us also.
That's crazy.
And maybe 2.5, I can't remember, but anyways, over 2 years. And so I'll tell you a little bit about her story. Like, she had heart problems. She knew she did, but she stayed in touch with her cardiologist. Like, she went regularly to her cardiologist for checkups and stuff like this. And you're told from the time you can probably remember, you're not promised tomorrow. And if my mom didn't actually live through that, I don't know who did then, because she had an appointment on a Tuesday with her cardiologist. They were discussing a plan of a problem that they had been discussing, and my mom was like, it was going to require another surgery, but before you had the surgery, you had to take this medicine, and the medicine was so potent, or so, I don't know, but anyway, you couldn't even take the medicine at home. You had to do it in a hospital stay to even get the medication for it, which would prep you for the surgery or everything. So she'd finally agreed, I'm going to do it. Let's schedule it. Let's do this. And so he said, okay, I'm going to get back with you in just a few days to set up the hospital stay for you, and we'll administer this medication. That was on a Tuesday. She died on Wednesday of a massive heart attack. And she got a clean bill of health other than that problem that they were looking at, which should not or would not have caused death. She got a clean bill of health other than that little problem on Tuesday, and died on Wednesday. She was going to go to the store for me. We were going to pick up some things, and she and I shared that chore. It's like, whoever had more time, or whoever was out and about, can you pick up the whatevers and bring it home? And she never minded that a bit. And we just would ping pong off that. And so I'd ask her if she would go to the store for me, and she said, well, I'll try to. And so she texted me 2 or 3 hours later, I guess it was. I'm going to go to the store for you. I'll pick up, because I've got some other things I want to pick up, and I'm going to pick up what you asked for. And she got to her car and literally sat in her car. She didn't even get to close the door or anything, and literally passed away right there in her car. And the paramedics are estimating that she was probably there maybe a little over an hour before I could get home. So when I get home, I'm seeing what looks like maybe she just got home from the store. And the closer I get into the driveway, I'm realizing this is not what this is. And so I call 911, and they tell me, you've got to get her out of the car. And I'm like, I can't. I am basically here by myself. My, at the time, 10-year-old son was with me. And I was like, and he is of no help. And I wouldn't dare put that on him to do that. And so I was like, I'm basically here alone. And my mom is not the smallest person to get her out. And she was completely in the car, like both legs, everything completely in the car. It wasn't like she had just sat on the edge of the seat, with her legs still out on the ground. She had completely made it into the car. And they're like, you got to get her out. I mean, I asked everything at that time. I mean, I questioned and doubted myself to the everything. I said, can I just lay her seat down flat? They're like, nope, it's not flat enough, not hard enough. You got to get her out on the ground. And I said, okay, if you say so. And they're like, and you're going to do it right now while we're on the phone, because I'm going to lead you through chest compressions until the ambulance can get there. And I'm like, okay. So they're like, put me on speakerphone, lay the phone down, and get your mom out of the car. And I needed them and paramedics, or the operator, the person that when you call 911, thank God for their peace and their calm. This lady never got riled up with me. She never got aggravated with me. She just kept ensuring me, you're going to get her out of the car. I needed that right then, because I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get this woman out of this car? And I have definitely had that experience where they say that adrenaline rush, takes effect or whatever. And in my mind, I'm like, I got to do this. They said you've got to do it, so I've got to do it. And there was nobody else there to help me do this.
At that time, they didn't know how long she
Correct.
Because they thought maybe there was some ability to
Correct.
some chance that she could be saved.
Correct.
So that's what you're operating in.
Right, right. So they were like, time is of the essence, so you need to get her out of this car.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I did it to this day, and I can't tell you, but I pulled her right out of that car. And when I tell you, it had to have been a God thing, and I firmly believe that, and nobody will ever tell me any differently, because she slid out of that car so easily. It was like she just moved with me, and I was able to get her out of that car and down on the ground. And yeah, it was so
supernatural.
Absolutely. And I did chest compressions on her until the ambulance could get there, and that's when they started asking a bunch of questions, and later found out that too much time had passed, and unfortunately there was nothing that they could do. They had done literally everything that they could do at that moment. But
it's those times, right, in life where,
as doom and as grim as they are, but you appreciate that I just didn't have a whole come apart, or I didn't have a whole fall out, like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like,
you see the strength of God just come out in
you
in those
absolutely
moments.
Absolutely.
In my mom's experience, it was very different. We talk about this sometimes because you're like, what's worse? Side note, both are awful. But my mom had to go into hospice and was there for 9 days. And that, I never left her side. And the strength every day, watching her body just slowly, and I mean, when I say slowly,
Yeah.
slowly change physically. Um, just, it was brutal. It was brutal. And you come out of that and you're like, again, how in the world?
Yeah.
Because it was so painful, and you know what's happening. In that moment, you knew the reality of what was happening.
Yeah.
But there's this strength that just rises up, and you just are able to, with the help of the Lord, get through it. and and you come out of it and you realize that there's another level of strength that's been built. There's another level of resiliency that's been built. There's another level of trust and faith that's been built. And you're ready for the next thing. And it comes.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does, whether you want it to or not. You know, I just got this revelation about strength, and it's kind of like an onion.
Mm.
So you're going through this situation, and you know you have your onion sitting here, and you think you've used up all of your strength,
Yeah.
and but the situation is not finished,
Yeah.
and God removes that outer layer.
Mm-hmm. That surface strength.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're somehow supernaturally you find enough strength to go on and
Mm-hmm.
keep prodding through that situation.
Yeah.
And you think, God, I really don't have any more. I don't know where to turn. I don't know where to go from
Yeah.
here. He removes that layer.
Yeah.
And until
That's
finally
true.
you're down to your little core,
Mm-hmm.
and you find the strength to move through your situation and
Mm-hmm.
get done what you need to get done, and that certain thing, you know, can come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
But
And then I believe he takes that bulb and he sticks it in new soil and he replants it and we go all over again.
there you go. There you go.
But it's true. Yeah. It's good. Yeah. So no matter where you find yourself today, maybe you're just coming out of something, or maybe you are trying to find strength to get through what you're in the middle of. I hope you find the strength that you need. And like the Bible tells us, you know, when we're weak, He is strong. And so I pray that you'll find Him and let Him carry you through what you're walking through. And we thank you for being with us today and tuning in. We have lots more to come.
Like and subscribe to our
Mm-hmm.
content if you haven't already done so. And please share out on your social media platforms to your friends so that they may get a little slice of Sister Cousins. And next thing you know, we can be out there, because we really feel we're well on our way to going viral.
We might be a smidge away, but we're still learning, and we're learning new things every week. So you never know. You never know what the Lord will do with it.
Absolutely.
It's seed form right now, but you never know.